You ready?
Yep.
This is call to order for the town council meeting, special meeting for November 14th for the town of St. Paul. Roll call, please.
Mr. Simmons? Here. Mr. Graham?
Here.
Mr. Swanner?
Here.
Mr. Nell?
Here.
And Mr. Trevino and Mr. Dryden are absent.
We do have a quorum. So let's wait just a second, let John come in.
I didn't see you pushing that button.
It's been pushed.
I believe you.
Oh, you're fine. Perfect. At this time, would y'all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we have just a couple of announcements. Upcoming regular scheduled council meetings will be December 9th of 2024 and January 13th of 2025. Also going ahead and announcing for election for town council seats for next year. Place 1, Place 2, and Place 4 will be coming up. The election will be on May 3rd of 2025. So January 15th is the first day for applications, and February 14th is the deadline for those applications. So again, the election will be on May 3rd of 2025. So at this time, we'll take the public comments at this particular time. Mr. Ellis, would you like to step up, and we'd like to hear you?
Where do you go?
You're fine, we can hear you from right there.
Okay. I've issued a voice of concern through Scott about the construction at 77 Cary Lane. And it appears from all indications that it is being equipped with 2 full kitchens and 2 or 3 living areas. It's about 9,000 square feet, I think. And I know there was a lot of discrepancy early on about the permit. They started construction with no permit. They didn't think, I was told, this is hearsay, but a pretty reliable hearsay. They started construction with no permit, and they were called out about it. They said, well, we don't have to have a permit, we're in the county. And they were told, no, you're in the city of St. Paul, you need a permit, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know how they submitted their plans for approval, who approved multifamily kitchen, multifamily residence in an what is it, R5?
R1.5.
Okay. Who would approve that? And somebody had to approve the plans, and then somebody had to issue the permit. And this all happened about the time of our last council election for the mayor and various seats. And it appears that this has been dropped through the cracks. And I know Scott's been working to get some answers, and I'll yield the rest of my time to Scott.
Okay. This isn't on the agenda.
Correct.
But if you want me to go ahead and...
If you'd like to.
Okay. So at least the research that I've been able to do up to this point, there was communications from the previous staff here, previous inspectors, where they had noted that there were 2 kitchens on the plans. The plans that were eventually approved by the previous inspector, and there are email communications between both the town and the builder, that they would have to remove the stovetop, the oven range that was in the second kitchen if they wanted to move forward with the building plans. So the final building plans that were actually approved are marked where that second stovetop has to be removed. So that eliminates the second kitchen. And that's what the town approved. There was a permit issued, I think, in early June for them to move forward with construction. Now, as far as if construction started early, or if there was any confusion about whether it was in the town or in the county, I haven't been able to find any evidence of that. But there was ample email communications between staff and the builder and our inspector at that time about this very concern. And what was resolved is that they'd have to remove the second stove in order to move forward with construction.
Did you get an answer back from BB?
No, I have not yet.
Okay. Yes, sir.
My first little question is, who is BV?
Bureau Veritas, when our inspector retired. So we did not have another inspector at the time. We were using, most cities do, use a company called Bureau Veritas
Okay.
for those inspections,
Yes.
permits and inspections.
Okay.
Pretty much every city uses them as a backup.
Okay.
So when Gary resigned,
Mhm.
we went to Bureau Veritas at that time.
Mhm.
And so I think Scott's emailed you and kind of brought you up to date on that.
Yeah.
I talked to him today about that.
Sure.
And so,
My other questions are, since the city didn't approve 2 kitchens in that residence, and they've already spoken with the builder, and he's agreed to delete the 1 kitchen,
He's,
who's going to inspect that home under construction to make sure they don't pull wire for that stove and plumbing for the sink? And who's going to say they don't go ahead and outfit that space
correct.
for a kitchen, and then as soon as they get the CO, slap the stove and stuff in there?
they won't be able to get the CO until there's a meter release on the property. And it's too early at this point, but when they request a meter release on the property, Bureau Veritas, our inspector, will go in and look, and at that time, you'll be able to tell if it's been set up for a second oven. And if it has been, they're not gonna release a CO at that time.
So what, let me clarify what you just said.
Okay.
Bureau Veritas, which is our contract inspector
Mhm.
corporation, entity, then those people, or a city inspector if we hire one, those people will go out and inspect before they issue a CO,
There will be a final
a
inspection.
final inspection, and they will, it'll be on their checklist
Mhm.
to verify that there's no electrical service provided for an oven or a stove,
That's correct.
and no plugs up there for a microwave.
Well, microwave,
I mean,
My understanding is it was $220 for a stove and or oven.
yeah,
You could do a coffee bar,
right,
butler's pantry,
Yeah. you
anything,
can do a hot plate, you know.
right.
but that's 110, so it's very hard to regulate that. But the 220 is what runs the oven and stove
Okay,
top.
Scott, clarify again, what did they agree to delete? The stove and what else?
The oven, the countertop oven or the stove that they had in there
The
originally.
combination stove oven, freestanding, like.
Right, right, and they just marked it off the plans, and the plans that we approved, the second oven's been marked off, so.
Okay,
Yeah,
but on those set of plans in the kitchen area, there was also drawings for a sink and cabinetry and all that stuff. Was that deleted also?
no,
So
Just
all they
the-
gotta do is wait to get the CO, and even if they don't have the wire pulled for the stove, they can pull the wire and have it right there. And look, we would never know nothing about it.
Understood.
And, I mean, it's got so many bedrooms, it's unbelievable. I mean,
It's big,
I think if we all climbed into that house, we could each have a bedroom.
So is it zone multi? It's not
I
that.
think it's
No,
nine.
it's a single family dwelling. I think it has 8 bedrooms, if I'm not mistaken.
It's either 8 or 9.
Yeah, so it's a big home as far as that goes. So hopefully between Scott, I spoke with Scott today about that. Hopefully his email to you kind of spelled out the process it goes through. And once the wiring goes in, you can't really tell what anything goes in until the wiring goes in. And then at that time, that's when Bureau Veritas will be able to verify.
Well, when he goes in to do the electrical inspection, on the electrical plumbing and AC roof, there's an inspection right there, isn't there?
Usually.
Okay, when he goes in and sees that, then he can tell if wire's been pulled for an oven stove and all that other stuff.
If he can always add wire later.
Yeah, he can always pull
Anybody could.
wire.
Yeah, we can all do that.
Yeah, every one of us can.
Correct.
We all know how to do that. But,
I understand your point.
yeah.
So,
I
and.
mean, it appears that it's being built for multiple families.
Well, like I said, we've reached out to Bureau Veritas. I went by there, met with Bureau Veritas the other day
Yes, sir.
and spoke with him. Scott has spoke with him a couple of times, and we've addressed it, and we are watching it to see
Yeah,
where it goes and try to follow the plans that were
yes, sir.
originally set down. So,
I appreciate that.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. Ms. Bowie?
I don't really have a lot to add to what Ellis is saying, except that what can be done when it's been approved as a one-family unit, and then multiple families start living there. Can the city do anything about that? What can be done? Because you've already approved it. And anybody can make additions.
Right. Normally during this portion, if we're not on the agenda, we don't talk just a whole lot, but I'll address you a little bit there. We have several homes in this town, and where it is from grandfather to great-grandchildren. And it's hard to keep an eye on, are they all the same last name? Are they all family? Or is it cousins? Is it brothers, mothers? It's impossible almost for a town to be able to do that legally. So I was under the impression from when I first came in, and this had already been in process, that this was a single family with multiple children. Now, I don't know about grandparents or mother-in-laws or anything like that. That's just what I'd heard when I came in office, that had already been through the system. And basically that this was a single family. It was a large single family. And so that's the only thing that I know from that personal side. But
Well, from what I'm observing, I think they pull the wool over you guys. Personally. I mean, you have 2 kitchens. To me, that tells me that they intended to have more than one family there. Why would they put 2 kitchens in there?
well, and
2 full kitchens.
right. And again, when the plans were talked about before they got approved with Gary Miles, our old inspector, those were marked off the plans and explained to them that it is only to have 1 kitchen, not 2 kitchens.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but if you're not to have a second kitchen, to me, that should not have had the cabinetry and all the other things that goes in a kitchen. All of that should have been deleted as well.
I understand where you're coming from.
Because anybody can go in, I mean, for $3,000 or $4,000, they can go in and once everything's been approved, they can have the second full kitchen working.
Well, it gets into that definition of what's a kitchen. Is a cabinet a kitchen? Is a temporary cabinet put up on a wall, with a bed, a mattress in it? Is that a bed? So
What I'm saying is they can add refrigerator, stove, et cetera, very easily.
after it's over with.
Yeah,
I
once
see
they
your
get
point.
the approval, they can go in and do all
So-
sorts of stuff.
Go ahead, Scott.
What I'll do is, I'll reach out to the builder and see if I can get in contact with the homeowner. And obviously, they can tell me whatever they want, but I think we need to open up this conversation and find out what their plans are, so we have a full understanding. But I think we need to also, Mayor, be clear that, it's kind of difficult to, there are no specific rules defining the kitchens. And how many you can have, there's nothing in our codes that allows you to dictate that.
Okay, and another,
And if that's something we need to address as a community, as far as our concerns of if a home's actually being used for single-family purposes, then that's what we need to address. And if that is a significant issue, then I think that's something we need to workshop and look at how we're going to address it today and in the future as well.
I totally agree with that.
another question, what about parking? Is it legal to park vehicles in your grass and yard, or what kind of
No, it's not.
ground do you have to have? Because if you have that large amount of children, how many vehicles are going to be there and where are they all going to be parked?
Okay.
Go ahead.
I don't know all the town's ordinances well enough yet, but I can tell you the majority of towns, and I don't think St. Paul's gonna be that much different. Parking your car in the yard without being on a hard surface like a driveway, it's not allowed. You know,
That's
that-
correct. That's
it
correct.
can be, I mean, that's a code violation. I can't speak to specifically that I've seen that in your ordinances yet, but I would be surprised if it wasn't there.
Well, that's just my concern, is
Yeah,
if you've
yeah.
got that many children, where are they going to all park? Because you know there's going to be vehicles. I mean, sooner or later, they're going to start driving, if they're not already driving.
What size lot is that, do you know, John?
Yeah, that's 2 acres.
2 acres.
Yeah, squared up.
So, I mean, they have the available space if they wanted to put in parking lot, for that matter. So, again, the town itself can only do what is either in our ordinances or what that code requires.
And what I want to be careful with is that we're talking about things we don't have.
We don't know.
We don't have a full perspective. There's been a lot of different discussions that have been going on since April. And I think what we need to do is really reach out to the property owner and tell them that, you know, the neighborhood is, you know, this is a significant home that's going in the neighborhood, and they would like to know, you know, what is taking place, you know, some of the concerns. I think that's fair. I think that's just having open and transparent communication with a future neighbor. And
Well, parking.
because you all want to get off on the right foot, right? And I think we need to have those conversations.
Mhm. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Ellis.
Sir, I have one more comment. I believe that Veritas, or if we hire another contract inspector, or whatever how all this ends up with the inspections, I believe that the P&Z and the city administrator and the entire city council get cognizantly aware of the definition of a single-family home. According to the Uniform Building Code, a single-family home is a home for one family. They can have the same last name, they can be in-laws, they can be, so if your kids are married couples, as long as they're related, blood, they can live in that single-family home. Otherwise, no. And I think this whole organization right here in this town need to get up to speed on what a single-family home is. And look it up and believe it. Look it up, read it. I did.
Okay, noted.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, thank you very much. Ms. Boo, you have anything else? And then John Crowe.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Real quick, I had actually shut that project down in February. Because they had gotten started with, they were moving dirt, they got everything going, and I came in, asked Leanne for a copy of the permit, and she said, there is no permit. And I said, well, you need to stop them. She went out there and shut it all down. All that had been done at that point was dirt. I could tell at that time that it was going to be a very large house. And I told Leanne that when this comes through for a permit, we need to really sit down and determine exactly what's taking place, because this is well over 4,000 to 5,000 square feet. This is the largest structure inside the town limits. It is twice the size of the structure over on Lakeway that there's concerns about. So our local, other areas building to this size require things like fire suppression, automatic fire suppression, okay? And that was one of the things that I had tried to get going with the previous council, was we need to look at our permitting process, because we are going to have larger homes built here. We're right on the edge of it. I knew this house was going in big. It's the lot, 2 acres, almost $500,000. You know they're putting a big house in. It's crazy. And so I'd gotten it shut down at that time. And then I talked with Leanne a couple of days ago, and she told me that, that Gary had spoken with the builders about them having multiple kitchens in it, and that she had spoken with them multiple times about them having multiple kitchens and said, you cannot have it. This is a single-family home. You cannot have that. And the builder understood, according to her. So
There were communications where he confirmed, the builder did confirm, he was gonna take it out.
right. And so, of course, the concept is, we can add stuff all the time
Right.
after, you know, I don't need to come, let me preface this, I have to come get a permit to put to do a remodel and put a stove in, okay, if I'm gonna add a stove to my house. I don't have to do one to replace it, but if I'm gonna add one, I do. In this case, the question is he actually gonna come and try to get a permit for that? No. What it comes down to is, when we have a 9,000 square foot house, Gary or Leanne, at that point, should have spoken to the council and said, look, we've got a problem right here that's about to blow up in our face. We don't have any parameters to block it, because quite honestly, we don't have anything to block it right now. I mean, you can build a 20,000 square foot house if you want, you've got the acreage there. Okay? But when you get into that size house, with the firemen and all the firemen present, you know 9,000 square foot is gonna eat up a house. I mean, it's gonna be a huge fire. And so you have to have the other things. Lucas, Parker, everyone else has a thing in place. If you go over 3,500 square feet, you have to have fire suppression, automatic fire suppression, whatever the number is. I don't know if it's 3,500, 4,000.
I don't know the specifics in the kitchen, that's correct.
Lucas requires it for every house built now. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's 2,000 square foot house, you have to have it. So that's really why I'm here, is to let you know that yes, we did squash the thing back in February, and to be honest, there were a lot of things that drug us in 1,000 different directions, and it probably just all came through on the download. I know Gary Miles, and he would not have let something just go through, knowing that they were gonna put that second kitchen in. But I think that the city should have had something in place to stop it, or who actually approved the plan. At one time, we talked as a council as to who was actually authorized to do the permit. At that time, it was the town secretary and the mayor. And at that time, Gary would have to turn it over, and one of the two of you would have to sign off on it.
Right.
And that, okay, now we can come back and have that conversation. It couldn't be a contract guy.
Right.
So that's speaking to that part. And I'm gonna go back to I guess two other things, and that is so we got code violations. So I know Leanne sold her property and moved out because they were having parties next door to her all the time. She was out in the country and there wasn't a thing she could do about it. So she had to sell and move. We've got a neighbor down there that's gonna sell and move because he doesn't want to live next to the Holiday Inn. And he just built a very nice place out there, and that was his retirement place, and he's kinda like, what do I do? So when we got code violations, it's like, that's okay. We've got a court system in place, municipal court's gonna take care of it. But it didn't. The municipal court's been dissolved and working on a contract with someone else for a court. So code violation is kind of, what do we do with that? And then I'm just gonna drop back over to, I don't really want to change the subject, but I am gonna drop back to 3990 Lakeway. This has been a project or a problem for the city for over a year that the previous administration was admonished for. And to the public, it doesn't appear that anything's been done to out there. We were beat up, strung up, crucified because we wouldn't lock the doors of that facility. It's half the size of this. And the doors still are not locked. They hadn't been thrown out. I'm not saying to throw the people out. But what is the city doing to move that forward? It was a big deal a year ago. And
it still is.
is there any movement forward on it?
I'll let Scott address.
So there is a significant amount of movement, but at this point, we can't speak about it publicly. But when the time is appropriate, we will definitely let you know. But I can assure you that there is significant movement that's being made. And when the time is appropriate, we will definitely share it with everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet, absolutely. I do appreciate all of y'all's comments.
Cases can be brought on this code violation over here on Kerry Lane. Cases can now be brought, since we don't have an agreement with the municipal court, we can file it with the county.
That's correct, in civil.
Yes, sir,
So
that's correct.
But I don't think we got a code violation.
we don't have a code violation at this time.
No.
So, but you are correct. But again, Scott's been working with you. I spoke with Scott today.
Yeah.
So we're aware of it. We're looking into it. We're trying to do what we can at this time with the ordinances we have in place. And we'll take a look at this hard. Even if for some reason we get this, even if this one gets solved, it needs to be looked at for the future.
That's correct.
It can't stop. We got by this. So that's something that's been noted and it will be looked at.
Yes, sir, thank you.
So, yes, sir, absolutely. And so at this time, if nobody has anything else, that's the end of the public comment section. I do appreciate all of y'all's time speaking to us at this time. It's wonderful from everybody when they show up. I really, really do. So, you got something? Okay. So at this time, we'll go to the consent agenda items. Item number 5, which is consider approval of the minutes for the October 14th, 2024 council meeting. Also to consider the approval of the October monthly financial report, number 5-2 of this year. 5-3, consider a resolution number 24-11-19-A, establishing the 2025 regular meeting schedules for the Town Council and P&Z Commission. Y'all take a look at that. Do we have any discussion?
No, I don't see anything out of the norm. What we did there.
Does everything on 5-3 look correct?
Yeah, to me.
Okay.
Make a move to accept the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the consent agenda items. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. So at this time, Council's fixing to go into executive session as authorized by Chapter 551, Subchapter D, Texas Government Code. Of the regular meeting will be convened into closed executive session under the following exceptions. Section 551, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations on a legacy project, international project, Parker Road project. So at this time, we will move to go to executive session.
That means we gotta go.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. So, are we live, Scott?
Yes.
Okay. So, as we reconvene into our regular agenda items, 9.1, discussion of possible action on ordinance number 277-11-19, approving the 2024 tax roll certified by the chief appraiser. So,
Mostly just informative
correct.
of what the values are.
There was no change?
I mean, I'm sure there was some increases. That's a good question for maybe Scott.
Scott, was there a change in the tax roll? Go up or down?
It went up, so if you look at the memo I put together, in September, we approved the tax roll that was approved by the review board,
Yeah.
and there was still $9 million that was outstanding still. So what we approved was the 188 million,
Got it.
and now that all the protests have been completed, the chief appraiser sent out the 2024 tax roll. So it went up to 198 million, which is roughly about another $5,000 in our budget. So,
Make a motion to accept the,
Okay, have a motion to accept 9.1.
I'll second it.
All right, have a second on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 9-2 is a discussion and possible action on resolution 24-11-19B, casting a vote for a member of the Board of Directors for Collin County Appraisal District. And they had a list, and Scott advised me if I could to send it around to see if, when you're a small town, you don't get much of a weight. So
you have one vote.
So I emailed over to the mayor in Lucas and the mayor in Parker, did not get a response back on that particular subject from either. So I have no input on this.
So typically what you do when you don't have that many votes, I mean, a lot of these entities probably have 400, 500, 900 votes.
It's apportioned.
Right, and usually what you do is you look to your neighboring communities like Parker and Lucas and see if they're going to be using their votes towards a particular candidate. And I had told the mayor that, we may want to look at the nominee from Parker, Texas, Jerry, and then also probably look at the nominee from Lucas, who was nominated by Lovejoy, Marvin Bubba. Since both those communities, and they're from those communities, are similar to St. Paul.
If we were
When do we
gonna,
have to make a decision? Sorry.
We have to have this back to them by December 16th, I believe.
Oh, so we've got one more meeting, I guess?
One more meeting, December 9th, yeah.
So maybe we wait until we get the vote back from who you reached out to you?
if we want to go ahead and table that until then, I'll be more than happy to reach out one more
Or if
time.
we can look at their minutes from their meetings, maybe they've already voted on something.
Parker's meeting if they put this on the agenda, will be Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday of next week.
So these are the candidates?
Yes.
Which one's the ones you were talking about?
If
Anna
you
up
look-
top, and then a Bobo, which is from Lucas.
It's like Marvin Bubba resides in Lucas, Texas. He was nominated by Lovejoy ISD.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
He's the closest then, right?
There's one that resides in Parker, Texas, towards the bottom, the very bottom.
Jerry Ames, Harting, hello.
Okay. Okay. Well, certainly somebody close to us maybe would be good.
That would be tabled to the next session.
You want to make a motion to table to the next session?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to table 9-2. for our December council meeting. And, so if you take a look at 9-3, discussion and possible action regarding an interlocal agreement with the city of Parker for a municipal court. I will ask at this time, I'm going to give you a quick explanation, and then I'm going to ask you to table it if you would please. So I've been meeting with the mayor in Parker. In fact, David Dryden and Scott went to one meeting over there with me. I've met several past that. I had one on Monday of this week. So the ILA is basically done. What is not done is the ticket book that goes between Travis and them. We coordinated serial numbers for the ticket book that Travis will carry. Working with the court clerk now, since some of that money goes to the state, they're trying to work in the accounting part of it so that no matter what happens between us and Parker, those funds don't get intermingled. That becomes an issue. So where we went down the road originally of ILA and it's done, it's turned into a wonderful joint project just to get it in line. And what we're trying to do is make this to where it's ongoing. It's not going to be a one-year deal and we re-up. It's going to be continual if we put that effort in it. The roadblock I ran into this week of all, and it wasn't really a roadblock, it was more of informative, was the court clerk. She met me. We sat down for about an hour. I sat down with her for another 30 minutes the next day, and she's the one coordinating now from the court side. And everybody's on board. Everybody's on board, and they're excited about it. I met with their chief code enforcement officer over there as well. So he's on board. And so it's just getting the final lawyer paperwork with the financials done on how we keep it separate when it goes to the state, and then those funds come back and we can make sure that the two don't cross. And so we're working on that. But yeah, everything else is very, very positive. I was hoping, the mayor was hoping to have it done by tonight, and then they were going to pass theirs on Monday. And when the court clerk got involved, it kind of threw a kick in it because she brought up state funds. So they're just trying to make sure on the accounting end that everything works flawlessly, and then it's going to move forward from there. So I hope to have something finalized by the next council meeting.
What would be done, not necessarily permanent signage, but if I were not savvy about this kind of stuff and I was supposed to go to court, you know, for something that happened in St. Paul, and I'm going to drive out to Parker to go to their building, you know, it says Parker all over it. And this maybe is a nit, or maybe it's not that big a deal, but I think it would help with the legitimacy of it if there's some kind of signage in the courtroom, or at least, I mean, some kind of acknowledgement that this is a court for the town of St. Paul.
So what happens
And
on
maybe even
the
judge would acknowledge
on the
that
actual
this is for St.
ticket,
Paul,
I
just to
have-
make sure that person is confident that they're in the right place, not getting bamboozled somehow.
Right, no, this is kind of the same thing as if you get stopped by DPS in East
Yeah.
Texas, on that ticket, it's going to have the court address
Right.
and a phone number where you call.
Right.
That ticket book, ours is going to be separate. I know for a fact that our numbers are going to start with SP 301.
Okay.
That's going to be our first ticket that Travis has in his hand if he ever wants to issue one. SP for St. Paul, of course. And so underneath that, it specifies the address of the court, the phone number for the court clerk,
Right.
the whole 9 yards, and then they just take over. When I was in there the other day, I told Scott I was pretty impressed. I did not realize they have a police department, so it's a little different. Every piece of glass around their council chambers is bulletproof. The window behind the court clerk is bulletproof. Their council desk is bulletproof. Everything has to be, because it transforms into a court from a council. And so the cost, the
Yeah.
enormous cost with a
Yeah.
prosecutor,
Right.
with that court clerk, with your security, with the cost of the building and everything else, we are very fortunate. It's been a long time coming. I'm over there a lot. I took them donuts on Wednesday. I'm doing everything I can to get this
There's
thing,
some Whataburger taquitos too.
yeah, signed, sealed, and delivered. But at the same time, it is a huge savings for our town, and it's going to work flawlessly. Their chief code enforcement officer knows Travis, and not only will we sit down with him, but he's gonna sit down with Travis. So everybody's gonna be on the same page, and it should work. And I told him we would probably work with Travis and assign maybe 5 and say, take a look at these. If these are habitual violators,
Right.
then we start with something small,
Yeah.
keep it small. Nobody wants it to be a tyrant.
Right.
But it is moving forward. So anyway, that's the update as of now. I apologize for it being slow. The mayor apologizes from over in Parker to you guys as well. I blamed y'all and said the council wanted this really bad.
She can bring taquitos.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but everybody is on board. It is moving along fabulously. It's just a lot of moving parts. But it is coming along on that. So at this time, we can't really vote on it tonight, so I'd ask that we table this motion till the following.
But that, just to follow up on my question,
Uh-huh.
is, physically in the room, do you know if there's gonna be some sign or something that says this is the court for St. Paul?
We
When
can
they
arrange.
arrive? I would like to see that.
Okay, but I will.
It's a nit, I know it's kind of a nit, there's a lot of other things you're trying to get done, I get it, and I'm not trying to cause any further angst, just.
No.
Just like we have these things where we pop them up,
Yep.
just some kind of sign that says, municipal court of St. Paul.
I know it'll be announced.
And announce it, yeah.
I know that it'll be announced because the ticket gets read in court by the
Are they
prosecutor.
gonna be shared sessions?
It'll be one followed by the other.
Okay.
So there's
Okay.
gonna have to be some kind of
Some
separation.
kind of announcement.
Yeah.
Maybe the sign's not as important, but certainly an announcement. So I just want to make, because what we've had happen in the past is people not agree that we really have any authority to do anything. That St. Paul is just a suburb of
So-
Wiley, and I don't know why you guys are getting on me about all this grass stuff.
So what happens on
And
this?
I don't even live in St. Paul, I mean, they're literally.
Basically the way it's gonna work is, we're gonna follow their format to make their life easy since they're doing us a huge favor, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically the same letter that we currently have that Travis issues now. It's very, very similar to that. If he writes a citation on it, that citation gets stapled to the back. So we're still gonna be using our code letters, and then the ticket will be on the back with everything. And on that final one that he will issue will be an address on the front as well as an address on that ticket
Right.
for Parker. And if they, and we've worked through all that, if it was a Mo violation and they took care of it beforehand, then they basically just dismiss it in court. There'll be some, when we finally get to the IOA in this, I'll explain a few more things to you to get it more definitive. But it's coming along fine. It's just been a lot.
Yeah, you bet.
It's been a lot. So anyway, so I asked table it till next month and we'll see where we're at that point.
Okay, I motion we table.
Okay? Do I have a second?
9.3.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Great work on that, by the way.
So we're trying. So at this time, item 10 is council discussion with staff regarding updates to town operations and projects, as well as the items the council would like to include in those future agendas.
I don't have anything to share with council tonight.
You already did.
Huh?
You already did,
Pretty
right?
much.
Okay.
Unless there's anything you want to include on a future agenda.
Do we need to have an agenda item for the house that they're concerned about, in December? To allow for it to be discussed more and have more material or information about it, or, is
Okay.
the thought there?
Okay.
I'm not saying we have to do that. Optional, if that makes sense.
I think
Okay.
the discussion,
Okay.
the discussion for future issues around this subject may be something we want to approach.
Well, obviously I'll do some more
Yeah,
background research on it. There's obviously some additional history that I heard this evening that I need to look into. And I will try and reach out to the actual future homeowners. I think they need to be included in these conversations.
Yeah, right.
And once, if I learn anything that I think is significant that we need to share with the public, I'll definitely.
yeah, and perhaps it is, I guess I'm kind of opening it up to allow for you to do what needs to be done,
Okay.
but if it is more around just the ordinances and what needs to be adjusted in ordinances for future situations, not necessarily related to that specific address, but, so we don't have.
Well, there seems, and I had this conversation with Ken earlier today, kitchens isn't the issue.
Right.
The issue is you want to be able to identify really what is a single-family residence.
Right.
And I think who the gentleman was,
Ellis.
Ellis, and he was right.
Yeah,
If that's the issue, it's not the kitchens.
right.
The issue is, how do you want to make certain that there's a single family,
Right.
that a house is being used for single-family residence, and that's where the focus needs to be.
Yeah, that's my question is,
Right.
one is we're saying in front of the IBC.
Can you prove it?
That's one, but two is, do we have anything in IBC 2015 that defines that? Or in our code, which Scott didn't necessarily know, and
I don't think we have anything.
There's
in the
nothing in
code.
our code.
Yeah,
So now,
But there should
Ellis.
be other, or there should be other,
well, that's what I'm saying, is something.
you know,
that you see.
descriptions, like at
Yeah.
the state level or at some kind of common code, common
Well-
National Business Code.
And I haven't looked at IBC.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, IBC should have something.
so I think there needs to be more clarity in what is a single-family residence,
Right.
and that's where our focus is.
But the kitchen thing is, anyway, we
Yeah,
won't
yeah,
talk about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I won't go.
In the, yeah, that's, I'd like to tell Scott, in the past, it's just been, a single family meant one kitchen, and it's always been sold that way. And so
You
that's
got
why
a
it
lot of
was,
money and you can build a big house.
so that's why it was handled this way
Yeah.
from the old regime
Yeah.
up to this point. And so if it's something we need to review, we need to take a
Yeah.
look. And I'll talk with Scott more about that.
Yeah, I think the code investigation's worth
Yeah.
talking about, what you find out.
Okay.
And I guess my other, are you done, Scott?
Well, the only other one is, what we're planning on doing for roads this year,
Yeah.
because that's
I-
obviously a big one.
And I
Maybe
think I
drainage too.
Right. I think I had previously mentioned that my goal was to set up for a workshop possibly for December.
Okay.
Not certain if we'll hit that, but definitely
Okay.
January. I think I mentioned it to Larry earlier.
That's what I was gonna ask for.
You know, have a work session where we talk about, you know, where do we want to go with
Yeah.
drainage and roads? And I know we have
And funding bigger
funding in
projects.
place, you
Yeah.
know, $2 million and maybe what we want to
Well,
identify.
for this year and for, you know,
Right.
future
Right,
five-year,
exactly.
10-year plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, you know, $2 million is only going to take you so far.
Right.
But I know you want to have some projects that we can identify and start using some of those funds as well, where the residents are seeing a return on.
And I think crack seal's already scheduled with, all we have to do is call WOPAC whenever.
Okay.
That's already been set up for less than 50,000, I think, to do the crack seal. They already did the asphalt
Right.
in the latter half,
Okay.
and so that's already scheduled for the asphalt.
Okay.
So,
So did we get feedback from TechDOT on anything in water related? Is that a project?
in what, in drainage?
Yeah.
No, those plans are hard and fast. I've been staying on them pretty hard. I've been warning them about some stuff. So all of those plans, and Robert was here back then, so years back, those were done. I warned them a little bit about their study, their drainage study was in prior to Carefree coming in. Carefree changes the equation.
It does, yeah.
And I warned them up front. They are aware, whether they do anything or not, again, it's TxDOT. And so we have that conversation periodically. Now that the rainy season's coming in, we're gonna be able to see a little bit more as it develops, because they're laying the current, if you wanna call it a long Parker Road, they've already got their crossways across Parker. The full lengthwise is what they're at now, before they get into culverts, before they get into how the water gets in there. But at the same time, I think with the rainy season here, it's gonna give them a pretty good impression. The main one that I really stayed on them about was the one where Carefree goes underneath Parker and goes down Lakeview. I tried to stay real heavy on that one to bring it down to the bottom and run it onto the core. They have got it piped to go quite a bit that way. And so the question is, what does Carefree and how does it change the equation? And so,
And does the Corps know that too?
the Corps is aware. So the Corps is aware. So, anyway, like I said, I try to stay on top of it as much as I can.
I think, based on what I heard from citizens, some of that, having a discussion about where that's going probably is not a bad idea.
Oh, yeah, well, that's one reason I mentioned it, just so they know that, you know, I am there every week. And I will bring up the transportation issues of heavy equipment on our asphalt roads.
Oh, yeah.
I was aware of the detour. We've had one on Drain, 2 different occasions on Drain Drive. They told me they haven't done any detours on Lakeview.
That's not detour, that's a,
That's them.
yeah.
Different story, and I can tell them that their vehicles need to stay off of
Especially something
our.
that size.
Yeah.
That's,
I guess they got
need to stay off
stuck
the
and they couldn't
roads.
figure out what to do.
huh?
They probably, you know, those big trucks, sometimes they get stuck going down, they didn't mean to turn down a certain way and now they're stuck. I mean, I've had 18-wheelers come down Rolling Meadows and.
Well, I haven't seen
What you
any,
gonna do, buddy? You're gonna back up the whole way, man?
yeah, I haven't
'Cause
seen
there's gonna
any.
be do once you get down there, you
So,
can't turn that thing
for the
off.
next 3 weeks, they're gonna be doing lime, and those trailers are, those trucks are pretty big.
Those are 15-ton trucks.
Yeah,
Just
they're
by
heavy.
themselves.
So they're gonna be spraying the lime, so the main thing I want is, if traffic gets kinda heavy, I don't want them detouring their stuff on our roads. If the public wants to detour to get around them a little bit.
Sure.
Can't stop it, but, yeah, I'll be bringing that up on Wednesday and have a discussion
Are
on
they
it.
gonna continue to scrape the humps that they made? Cause only did
No,
two?
they scraped all but two.
Okay.
They were supposed to fix
the
the,
two and left the rest.
well, one, TxDOT's even whining about what they call number one, which is
Okay.
across from Inspiration.
Yeah,
And we're like, why did you not scrape that one?
yeah.
The other one is the double they have down there kind of before you get to Masonic Lodge.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's a dip and then an over.
Yeah, and
And-
the dip's now this far deep, by the way.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
So that one came up at the last meeting. I'll be bringing that up again. And yeah,
And
that's,
there's another dip over here someplace, isn't there? Right here, I think. I'll have to pay attention tomorrow.
yeah, it's better than it was.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But it's not, and as it gets worse, TxDOT's pretty particular, I'll give them that, if they notice something, but nothing moves up there without somebody giving an invoice for who's paying for it. It's hilarious.
Show me the money.
Yeah, either way, because if Weber's behind, they pay TxDOT, and TxDOT has to cut an invoice before they even run a street sweeper.
Right.
And they argue over which form, because one form has to be done in 7 days, and the other one gives them 3 weeks, and they'll argue over which form to use.
Right.
So, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Sounds like the multi.
Yeah, so, anyway. So, anything else, Scott, that you
No,
would
sir.
like to bring up?
Not at all.
Okay.
I make a motion.
At this time, making a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen, tonight. I do appreciate it.